Welcome to the first episode of the BallotCast. My name is Gavin Burrer. I'm a proud resident of Clark County, Indiana, and I care a lot about how our community is run and who's responsible for running it. I'm starting this show because I think voters deserve a little bit more than the usual campaign noise. Most people see a name on a sign, or a post, or a mailer, and then they're expected to make a real decision about who should hold responsibility in our community. The point here is to slow this process down a little bit. Sit down with the people running and have a real conversation. For this episode, we're talking about the Clark County Sheriff's race. It's an important office, and it touches a lot more than people may realize. The Sheriff's Office deals with public safety, the jail, and the way people across our county experience law enforcement. It's also an office where trust matters a lot. Clark County's been through a rough stretch, and a lot of voters are asking, what's next? My name is Gavin Burrer, and I want to welcome you, for the first time, to the BallotCast. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Kenny Kavanaugh, candidate for Clark County Sheriff. He spent decades in law enforcement, including serving as Jeffersonville Police Chief, and he's now running to lead the Sheriff's Office. Mr. Kenny, welcome, and thanks for coming on the show.
I appreciate having me here, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to communicate with you and to be a part of what you have here going on.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about his background, what he's learned in leadership, his history, and what qualifies him to be the next sheriff of Clark County. So before we get into the race itself, before we get into discussion about the office, I want to start with you personally. So for people who know your name, know you as Jeffersonville Chief of Police, know you're running for sheriff, but don't know you personally, who is Kenny Kavanaugh? Let us know.
Well, Kenny Kavanaugh is born and raised here in Jeffersonville. My family have roots here in Jeffersonville, Clark County. I am 54 years old. I'm married. My wife is here, Lene Guilfoyle Kavanaugh. We have one son, Jalen Kavanaugh. He is 30 years old. We have a family history that works in public safety. My grandfather worked here in Jefferson, Clark County. He worked at the Census Bureau as with the Federal Protective Services as a federal police officer. There it was called the quartermaster. So that is actually the building that right there was headquartered out of. That was called the depot, that area there, but where City Hall is currently now. And then inside there, back around the area up east on 11th Street there, that was all of the warehouses in the space area, but the Census Bureau, that was all government property back then.
Okay.
But that still, talks about my family history there. My father, my grandfather there, it goes already into public safety, and with him being a federal police officer, but also of who I am. My father worked as a Jeffersonville firefighter. And my father worked as the first African-American hired Jeffersonville firefighter there, December 1st he was sworn in December of 1965, but January 1st of 1966. So I have a family history, and I talk about, especially with my grandfather and all of that area there. I talk about my father. I talk about me. My son is a Jeffersonville police officer. I'm coming to run for sheriff of Clark County, and I have that history and that family roots. But it's a passion, and it's wanting to be involved, wanting to commit myself, as my father said, to something greater, and to be able to make a change. So where I'm at today, and that's me, and a little bit family composition. Family's important to me.
Absolutely.
My dad's family, my mother, my parents met there. My mother is from the South Carolina area, but comes back here, but still family, that understanding of who I am and that connectivity. Yeah. That's why I do believe in with the law enforcement today. It's a community policing, it's a community focused mindset, and it's problem solving oriented policing. But you look at the duties and the responsibilities of public safety, of everything as a whole, and wanting to be the sheriff of Clark County, that relates to who I am,
Yeah.
and that relates to that personal connectivity on the level and trying to be able to problem solve and bring resolution to where we are here today. That said, that mindset focus, and a lot of it with, I'm going to get into the strategy of campaigning.
No.
32 years in law enforcement.
Okay.
Started my career 1 year from 21 to age 22 at the Clark County Sheriff's Office, working at.
So this is where you started. Okay.
At that time at the 501 East Court Avenue.
Yep.
Coming back home was where I wanted to be.
Okay.
After 32 years of services, and the Jeffersonville Police Department was right there at that time, and started there as well. But with everything in totality, my career in law enforcement, I climbed through the ranks from patrol all the way to the levels of chief of police. I've worked to serve my community, to better myself and challenge myself, and it was dedicating myself to professional development and career development of training, and all understanding of that for me to an application to go back to higher education and to be able to accomplish undergraduate studies at the Ivy Tech Community College, to be able to finish what I started as an associate's degree, and then also in criminal justice, and also to be able to work myself through Purdue University, to be able to work myself through a undergrad degree in criminal justice, with the focus and concentration in law enforcement. And I did other studies through the Southern Police Institute, being a graduate of the 140th session at the SPI, the Administrative Officers course, and also completed the FBI Law Enforcement Leadership Development session number 80.
Okay.
I was through that course and completed that as well. So understanding in totality, and I've talked composition of who I am, talk composition of family,
Yes.
talk about generational public service, talking about working a career of then going through from all the way from starting at the Clark County Jail, then all the way through and up to Chief of Police, and where I'm here today. I'm a captain with the Jeffersonville Police Department. I'm a merited captain, and I am now, from that time of coming out of the Chief's office to August of here now, I'm currently started this week with a newer assignment.
Okay.
I'm now supervising school resource officers, and while the time of being Chief of Police, I furthered myself. I am a certified SRO myself, so I did complete that course through Nazaro. So this is through my career and the time I'm able to focus. And I'm looking at school safety. I'm looking at everything from obviously within the courts, the criminal justice system, the civil process, the part of corrections, responsibilities with the jail. And then the last component, what I'm familiar with, is actually policing itself and policing the community.
Yes.
So, and that is where we are today for problem solving oriented policing. So with that said, and understanding who I am, that is why I'm wanting to run for sheriff and to be able to do something greater for our community of Clark County and understand the duties and responsibilities of Clark County as a whole. So we are a very sizable county, and all the challenges that we've come from in Clark County, from periods of time of things that were out of our control as citizens. When we talk about rebuilding trust and confidence, I want to come in, and I want to come in with a full component of saying, being able to deliver a team and be able to bring public safety resolve for sustainable outcome and results, so we can go on to the next phase and place, and that is doing the best we can with our values as American citizens and that quality of life for us here at Clark County.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit more about that. So it's been a family endeavor for you, public service, law enforcement.
Absolutely.
It's been a lifelong endeavor. So I think it's evident to me and then everyone listening that this isn't just a job for you. It's never been just a job, but it is a lifelong passion. Tell me more about that and what drives you. What's the passion behind it all?
Understanding with where we are today, and there was a lot of challenges that were occurring within the last few years at the Clark County Sheriff's Office, and I've been a part of that, being able to witness that, as a citizen of this community, as a professional police officer, and I do believe that that is the intrinsic value with this that you hear me talk about and take some extra time that I want to communicate to that about family and being there. I'm invested. I am invested with me and my family, my son, his wife. I understand that what we need as a community, and I offer the opportunity and solutions to be able to make this better. Also to stay here with that commitment to understand this is not going to happen overnight. And you have to look at it from a perspective to know that we have challenges, but to know that each and every one of those challenges are on that spectrum that involve and do evolve with antisocial behavior, whether it is chemical substance abuse, it is, our situation with illicit drug use, our situation with mental health services, are just everyday quality of life issues that then result into antisocial behavior that get people into decision making. And then next thing you know, we are in the criminal justice system, and this is where it falls. So those challenges itself, I understand that. I've had the ability to be able to study that. I know that the elected sheriff of Clark County has to be able to bring a focus and mindset for the agency itself to be able to tackle those challenges. So everything that what I said there together collectively results with antisocial behavior. Then antisocial behavior, then people fall into the criminal justice system, then they do the responsibilities of the sheriff of Clark County and the team and the partnerships of working with everyone. And that office is multifaceted. So leadership and the span of control of what the sheriff builds a team of people that are capable and competent to be able to understand policy, procedure, and administer leadership, and then have that team to be able to interact with the public if it's civil process, through the courts, the court security, or if that is in general of getting someone connected to care for mental health services. However, we need to be able to respond to some type of call for service or someone actually coming into the courthouse and needing that. And those duties and responsibilities and keeping the courthouse safe and secure of doing those duties that are administered and adjudicated through that office of sheriff. So that is why myself, and I talked about a lot here, but that is exactly, this job is way different from a chief of police to coming to be a sheriff. It is multifaceted in duties and responsibilities, and understanding what that role of the Indiana Sheriff's Association and where we are here now collectively, how do we go forward to ensure that we have a sheriff that is leading that team of the Clark County Sheriff's Office us to a much greater and better place to be able to have what we want here, a safe community of Clark County for quality of life.
Absolutely. So remind me how many years you were chief of police?
Chief of police from the years of March of 2015 until August of 2025.
Okay.
So, a 10-year clear span. I've been told by several retired officers from their knowledge of knowing that the longest chief of police in that tenure in history, and what a great time. And what a great time to be able to accomplish that and to be able to transition still within the department and being a married captain, which of course in time while chief of police that I did come in, I did actually test and go through that process. So as you've seen through my campaign, I talked about merit. Merit has value, and going through that process and doing that. So me as a chief of police, I entered through that process and participated in that process to become a captain, to respect the process of the merit commission, to enter through just like a normal candidate and officer would. I'm going to bring that back to with the team of people. We are going to bring that back to the Clark County Sheriff's Office, and that's where we're going to get it. It's going to take some time, but to understand comprehensively all those processes, because that for the community is better, and that serves, and we should not have to wonder or worry who is going to be the elected leader and where people are going to fall. There's always going to be employees at the sheriff's office. There's always going to be things that are going to occur. There's going to be different person in the leadership, but at the end of the day, we have the same job. It changes from time to time, okay? But understanding what those processes are and what policy is, the mission, it stays consistent. And how it's done and how it's completed, it's up to leadership. The leadership has to be able to set and have that in place, and also the duties and responsibilities of leadership. So I want to bring that back in. I want merit has claim and has value.
Absolutely.
And we have to be able to, if we're going to be enforcing the law, we're going to be able to hold people accountable, responsible with policy and public safety. We have to have that value for ourselves to be able to follow at the sheriff's office as well. And it starts right at the hands of the leadership of the sheriff.
I think you're right. Tell me some stories or some examples of, through your history of the chief of police. You came in, you had 10 years. What did you see? What were some of those changing or evolving things? How did you handle them? And how did you know it worked? What were the benchmarks of success in your role there?
Well, understanding culture and understanding our duties and our responsibilities. We have to be accountable. We have to be responsible to the public. So that means the public knowing that their tax dollars are working for them and getting outcome and results. There's going to be issues and challenges that are going to come up and going to arise. But public safety departments need to be responsive to the people that we serve. And I say being responsive, there's going to be problems. Can we deliver solutions? Can we go out and serve the public and be able to mitigate what their issue and what their problem is? And that's problem-solving oriented policing. Or are you going out and giving lip service and they leave and walk away and nothing happens and occurs?
So I like that term, problem-solving oriented policing.
And that's where it is. That's part of 21st century policing it is today, and that works on that spectrum of understanding about mental health challenges, chemical substance abuse disorder challenges. That's all packaged in there. So you build a competent agency through leadership and through policy. Policy is actually set with what the department's policies is, and then you understanding what that sheriff or that chief is going to be able to support that agency who in public safety, and how you prepare the men and women to be up here to do that job. And that comes from the value that you have to be invested into the men and women that are doing that job and getting them the equipment, the tools of what they need, but understanding are they able and functionally in a fashion to be able to do the duties that they're to demonstrate, and within policy being controlled, and are there outcomes that the American people, our public, can live with.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you talk about—
and are proud of.
Yeah, so you talk about the legitimacy of the organization. Can the people of the public be proud of their department?
Yeah.
And that answer is yes, through dedication, hard work, and leadership setting expectations. And it can't be empty promises. It can't be chaos and confusion.
True.
It can't be complicated, but understanding everything as a whole. And then you get to that aspect of leadership. Leadership is staffing, budgeting, comprehensive outcomes, deliverables, measurables, and programming that is interactive for the people to be able to touch, be able to comprehend and understand, and sustainable outcomes.
Yeah.
And that creates a respect and value of that is building a relationship for a law enforcement agency and a public safety agency with the public. And I think that obviously through this election and demonstrating of who we are as Jeffersonville Police Department and changing from the challenges of what we had in the inception and knowing that we had those challenges of becoming chief of police, how do we staff an agency? How do we understand intrinsic value? How do we understand challenges from employees that could not regulate themselves through discipline and through fashion, and how that works for people being in an agency, and how that works for people exiting an agency with the merit commission process? That is all fundamental, and you see that in a proper fashion accord, and that does not become an event, or that does not become a distraction for a community. And I have experience by doing that through the chief of police office to ensure that where we are today, to go to a much better place, working with a team of people in fashion, and it's clearly it can be possible.
Talk to me more about the team of people. You lead a staff, you lead a team of officers. Talk to me about casting the vision for them and then getting them all on board too, because you're obviously very passionate. How do you share that and motivate the team?
Well, I've said before, and you have to survey your people, and that's one thing that I didn't do before, but then I understood where we are now, working with the passion of leadership, allowing the men and women there within the existing agency of the Clark County Sheriff's Office to speak. You can hear people say, I'm going to be there and have their backs. I don't know what that means. And also, we have to understand, I've had numerous people out here in the public that say, hey, do you hold your officers accountable? We do, but we understand we have to give our officers where the boundaries are and where policy is. I have the duty and responsibility to be able to set our people up for positive interaction for them to be able to sustain what we're looking for outcomes. So that's my duties and responsibilities. And we have to do that first with that intrinsic value, setting that culture. So finding out what the men and women, first of all, what they're looking for, and me as leadership, what we're going to deliver in fashion, and then what those goals are and what the objectives are, and then to be able to better serve and meet the people of our county in partnership and relationship in law enforcement. And that's something, my experience, I've been able to do here in Southern Indiana, but the experience, I just came off of January, the Indiana Association's Chief of Police. I served on as a board member here, the southern half region of the state for 3 years, but that relationship and relational policing, with the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. We've hosted 2 academies and working with Director Horty. I've worked closely with Superintendent Anthony Scott with the Indiana State Police, and I've worked with numerous chiefs of police and other sheriffs here around the state. So I want to bring those positive interactions and networks back into the fold for where we are with Clark County Sheriff's Office to create that exposure and create that mindset that I want to take us away, and I want to take us to a different place of where we are here now and start this relationship. So while I'm out, I've been campaigning. I've already been in, and now I've kind of moved in the phase of going to some of the residential areas in the neighborhood and interacting with people and meeting people, residents. Someone just within the last couple of days, and I was at the youth shelter cookout, said, hey, you were in Sterling Oaks, that's out in Sellersburg, going out to these residential areas, because something that we've been able to build, and I want to share that Mayor Mike Morris did very well with Jeffersonville in the last his time and tenure, coming up with 4 periods he served, in the residential areas within neighborhoods, over 100, 120, 130, these interactions, meeting with neighborhood and home ownership groups and neighborhood groups, being available and coming in with a team of people in government, going to bring that culture and that mentality outside now. We're going to deliver that to Clark County with our team, and I want to get others in government involved to be able to better connect, have better relationships with the people of Clark County. So that has to work through with a public servant mind frame and that type of mentality that we're actually here. And again, back with that team of what you're talking about, how do you set the employees up? We have to go through, and it's all about culture, it's all about mindset, it's all about fashion, it's all about working with the team of people that are there and understanding expectations, boundaries, how we do perform our duties with public safety, but with that relationship. And then that is how you support people, and that's how you move an agency forward.
I think you're absolutely right. So thinking about your campaign, thinking about the Clark County Sheriff's Office specifically, where do you think the biggest change needs to happen within the agency to get it from where it has been and is currently to where you would like to see it, with the team rallied around that vision for quality of life?
Well, acceptance of that vision and understanding, again, what that culture is going to be. The culture is going to be coming from the men and women, and then also creating a value systems for promotion. Okay. How does he or she possess intrinsic value? We as human beings, we always are security or needs, but so coming to work and feeling good about where we are and what you want to do for human performance capability. So we have to create that vision, we have to create that value in there for the men and women to want to be able to come to work and be motivated to do the job that we do. And I believe it's there. But what a vision looks like and what we're working to, we have to make that clear with clarity and look at that mission statement. And they've got a mission statement there that's present. And I've looked at it and I reviewed a couple, more than once, but several different times. But we need to be able to take that forward and make sure the men and women understand that's not something that's scripted up on a wall, just printed out there or put on an application. I've seen organizations do that just on an application, to say they have a mission statement. You have to be able to...
Just some casual phrases that don't actually mean anything.
That's one that, as Jeffersonville Police Department, creating, we erected that first mission statement within policy and value. And that's what we will do. We'll take that to ensure that everyone knows that mission statement, how we're going to carry forward, how we're going to move forward. And then as sheriff, I have to be able to put each and every employee, I have to put them in a position, capacity for human performance to be able to succeed and achieve and to know where we're going to go, and everyone has that value. And that is highly important. Anyone running for this office, they have to be able to do the same. And if they don't do the same, we're in a loop, we're in a cycle that we're going to be in a quagmire. They're not going to be able to go forward. Also, your executable leadership. What has been your leadership before and prior in the past? How have you made it forward through challenging times? And are you a leader? Are you a leader that can move past chaos and confusion? And are you a leader that can have something for the public to sustain and have a relationship with and be able to carry forward and want more?
Yeah. Well, it's clear the voters of Clark County are behind you and that change. You won. You're not just showing up on a podcast for the first time. You've done a lot of work to get this far. You won the primary against current Sheriff incumbent Scotty Maples. When you look at that result, when you look at your success in that primary, what do you think the voters were saying to you, to the current sheriff? What do you think their hopes are for your role?
Well, I came out and immediately I was saying change, and I understand that voters are looking for a change, but an acceptance for a change, and as a result of being a 10-year chief of police, but this is about being 32 years present as a police officer, 1 year present in law enforcement, the sheriff's office in fashion, being present here for 30 years, not saying almost 30 years, being present here for 30 years and working through and understanding where I evolved from, of coming in the door of 1993 and where we are in 2026. And I understand, and there's still going to be challenges through this year. It's going to change where we need to go from 27 through the next 4 years, and having the ability to create a vision and be able to deliver a mindset and focus, and to be able to give the employees and the staff at the Clark County Sheriff's Office, everyone, something that we can go forward with, and that is vision and being objective and looking for input, and something that they can have for ownership and feel good about coming to work and feel present about coming to work and back to the people we're serving them. The public wants to understand and know that their tax dollars are being properly spent, being properly deployed and properly used and not abused. And for a period of time, I have that experience of being able to actually show and demonstrate with value of what type of community that I'm going to support, where we're going to build, and what we're going to have in partnership and erect. And we're going to be not say safe, we will be safe.
Good.
And absolutely and present, but not intrusive.
That's a good phrase too. I think the people are proud of that. So you've been in law enforcement for 32 years. I think I'll go out on a limb. I think technology has changed quite a bit over those 32 years that you've been in. Tell me about how it's changed, and then also your familiarity with it and competency with it to use the full capacity of technology in the modern day in the sheriff's office.
So understanding that challenges, budget, staffing, you get that great point of Senate Bill 1. We have to be willing to work smarter, greater, always hard work, but how we can interface technology into law enforcement capacity and operations daily. Now, that challenge is just like everything, you go to the grocery store, everything is going up, and also it is a contract for services. So that itself is an impediment when you get to the finances. However, strategically, and how can you work with the Clark County Council, how can you work with commissioners, and how you can understand and comprehend budgeting, and how you can operate within that budget, and where you can reduce costs and dollars, and then redistribute, redeploy, and then look at the technology aspect to better serve. Can we create some programming, and can we also look at what we do and how we do it for a period of time and make modifications, but be able to be strategic in fashion with resource management, and then apply applications of technology to better service and protect us. These are all within, I'm saying a lot, being a lot, but that's all within the totality and the fashion to be able to operate and being able to strategically and legally manipulate. That's important because we're speaking dollar and cents here on the back end to be able to meet. And that's one thing I mentioned here. You saw my flyers, 10 for 10, and audits, and being able to pasture and be able to handle funds. That's coming to be the elected sheriff of Clark County. I will talk about handling funds and things, but I mentioned that to be able to do that, to adjudicate that appropriately and rightfully and justly, and to be able to deliver outcomes. Outcomes are your measurables of where we were able to be sustainable for the public, to be able to agree and to be able to accept and take that and be able to fill that for public safety. So there's a lot there. When you get to things, violent offender, sex offender registry, that is the duties and responsibilities of the sheriff of all 92 counties in the state of Indiana. Okay, and also that is managed through there. So how we predicate and how we respond and how we perform those duties daily, that contributes to keeping Clark County as a whole, because we're responsible for maintaining those offender registries and knowing where these people are and where they're at within our communities, to be able to protect those who are most vulnerable. So is that through, fashion of technology? How do we have them? Are they checking in through website? And I'm looking at all that and talking to people within the teams on how that is done and looked at it. And we've also, when I was at Jeffersonville Police Department, we worked through fashions of additions to did some creations of some intelligence units to be able to partner and work with the sheriff's office. I want to bring that mindset, bring that focusing and that type of programming, and also take our younger generational police officers that are wanting to look at that in a strategic fashion for investigative tools and measures, and you start talking about technology and how that works in fashion to be able to keep up. I will tell you that Sheriff Maples has did a good job with being able to announce when we have people that are non-compliant and getting those people incarcerated, arrested. He's been able to get that information out. My hat goes off to him to be able to do that. Those are the pieces of communication of where we're going to stay on top of, and we're going to be able to do with the management of it, things that I want to work on and continue that actually going forward. But to be able to bring some new ideas and be able to reintroduce some programming into that to make it greater for a safer community. And that's when moms and dad and parents and family, we want to have a safe community. So those are the practices and those are ways that you want to implement that in. And you need to look at that from a holistic approach to offender, violent crime, those types of individuals that have been incarcerated and that are out now in our society. How do we manage them?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about that. So you mentioned results, outcomes, benchmarks, measurables. Tell me some of the data points or measurables of success from your 10 years in the police department. What did you see?
Well, what I'll tell you is we've been able to take actually and look at some of the violent crimes, and we've been able to work and look at the levels through the years. And I don't have the data point in front of me, but we were able to work when shootings were happening, occurring, and those were years of greater. Someone sent me some data points, and I looked at some years of fashion of time that, despite from 2008 through the period in time there now, and then my time and tenure as chief of police, when we had some of those years of the greater and the violent crime that was just going unscripted, unaddressed, able to work in fashion strategically to be able to reduce those, investigate those, realignment of our investigative units. That was something I was able to do through a period of time with personnel capacity, and then we greatly and significantly increased our human performance capacity by who we are and what we do to better educate and serve ourselves, and redistributing personnel, but also created an intelligence unit to be able to better respond and better serve and partnerships with the FBI, ATF. When under my tenure, we have them actually working as a satellite office out of the Jeffersonville Police Department. So these are comprehensive ways. And I was, as a tenured narcotics investigator, worked in partnership and did some working with the FBI task force to work with our federal partners to be able to comprehend when we have these problems and issues. When you look at violent crimes or you look at serious, dangerous crimes, to be able to, how do you focus and how do you address that? So that has to come from leadership with the mindset, not putting people in, but making sure from leadership you're supporting those in other leadership positions to be able to drive and manage their people and personnel for their performance capabilities to be able to better serve and get those results appropriately, correctly, legally, lawfully, good quality cases. And being able to then, that is all results in those data points of keeping our city and our community safe.
You talk about increasing human capacity or potential of your team. Tell me more about your passion for education, for training, what that has looked like, and then what that will look like in the Clark County Sheriff.
Absolutely. So as a whole for me, where I've started and where I've looked at, through the years, I'm willing to understand it is what I do not know. And that's good and greater, and becoming, a police officer, being a police officer, but then you become an administrator. Working as an administrator, unless you have had the fortunate enough ability to work yourself all the way up through training experience and through education, aside from the demographic department of ours, there's not a succession plan. I've not seen that with people in leadership. So some of the pathways and us through merit and testing for rank and exposure with leadership, that's what we've been able to start to get in place at the Jeffersonville Police Department to push that opportunity to be able to climb the ranks through merit. But for me, had to be able to work and go through those processes. So to be able to work through training of going back and working for higher education, finishing the associate's degree, in criminal justice, and be able to work towards a bachelor's degree in educational criminal justice, but then to be able to take that real-time experience of law enforcement, and then to understand what our role is in the criminal justice system, to how to work in partnership, to be able to look at things such as chemical substance abuse, the antisocial behaviors and things of recidivism, and being able to study that and understand programming such as like we do the CARES program, to be able to connect people with care for mental, chemical, or substance abuse disorder, and how, after having calls for services and being able to partner with the Life Springs Health System, to be able to have a peer counselor, then to go back out, we collect that data, and within 48 hours to 72 hours to 24, somewhere between that time frame, we're back out connecting people and getting them in to a program for care. And that actually started with looking at it through partnership, but understanding my role and responsibilities as a chief of police, understanding my role outside, even with the community and leadership in that education fashion. So educating myself, my team, and working through, and I would say everyone there, to challenge ourselves, not to just be there and be present and be just absent leaders, but to be able to work and actually be present and for our team to be able to be better for our community, and also to be able to look at through the years of data. We've been able to work in the city of Jeffersonville. We've been able to work and drive those drug overdoses down, and to be able with connecting people to care. We had, and I've been off of the data since coming out of the chief's office, but last year there we've been up to the range of about December. We had 80 percentile of connecting people with care. We've had some awards there with following through, and that means being connected with care, but that completion. So getting 80% of the people that we're touching to complete a program, and that's sustainable for quality of life. And that's that's helping families and keeping families safe. If someone has had some challenges of things of that nature there, that can be chemical, substance, or mental health, but getting people connected there, putting families back together.
Absolutely. And those programs for mental health, for addiction that people have gone through, you find those to be generally successful?
Getting them exposed after we have that contact and following through, connected with the peer counselor, and then it goes on the back end to go even further beyond me. But what we're able to.
So you just initiate the process, and then years of success follow that.
Understanding how, while we're having contact, how we're having these negatives and how we're having these encounters, what we can do for resolve, remedy to resolve, problem solving, problem oriented policing, capacity performance, and then your people that are working on the front lines to be able to see and understand, are we making a difference, or can we make a difference, and are we, we're driving these types and kinds of runs down, we're impacting, we're making a difference. So that answer is yes, and see it. So then there's where your buy-in comes in, and you have great people out here willing to perform and willing to have taken the oath. And sometimes it gets rough and it gets tough, to be able to see what is sustainable and what it is to understand that, hey, we're not making a significant portion of our volume here of these calls, and we're not just out here deploying Narcan, out here, and that's not a bad thing. We're saving people's lives, but day in, days out, we're just going to stockpile them, we're just going to load the car up. Are we trying to take, and are we trying to look at it from a position or capacity to be able to better serve our community, and
sustainably too, for the long term.
That's it. Problem solving oriented policing. So it's that mindset and the focus that we've really, you look at since the year 2020, there before, and then you get into 21st century policing. That's why this is evolving and changed. So we have to understand who we are, where we are, and if someone is running for the office of Sheriff of Clark County, what is he or she's performance capability and what is their leadership going to be? What are they going to deliver? How are they going to deliver? How they're going to administer, and who is going to be with them and around them to be able to do this, and do they have a plan? There's a lot of questions there. So with that actually being said, one of the things I've been asked as coming here, I have not picked the chief. I'm actually looking at people within the department. I'm looking at people within their performance capabilities. I'll be looking at resumes. I'll be looking at experience, and I'll be looking at those that are actually serving. Those that are actually serving how. I've said that we need to have a change. I do believe that we do need to have a change, and what those demonstrations for change look like on a performance capability and leadership capability to be able to take the sheriff's office going forward. That will matter, and that's, like I said before, merit does matter most, and what that looks like respectively to the citizens of Clark County.
Yeah. So, you've had such experience as police chief. Obviously, you said sheriff is a very different role. Just on a practical note, what are the differences between the roles, and how are they different?
So you look at a chief of police is administering, a police agency, police department, and it's pretty much one fashion accord. They may, besides their rudiments of having a patrol investigative unit and maybe having a special unit depending on the department size and a dispatching component or not, but we are Clark County, we are unified PSAP dispatching here. We have we have one of the best in the state, and I believe we have the best in the state here, Clark County 911. That was one hell of an outstanding team. So Director Brad Mikesell, Assistant Director Brandy Collins, they do an outstanding job with their team at Clark County 911. I want to give them props and shout outs. But a police department, has those operations. A sheriff's office and agency has the duties and responsibilities which are there within that cord of civil process, court security, inmate prisoner transport, and then you get into the corrections aspect of maintaining the integrity of the jail. Then you move into the other curriculum then you get into the basic law enforcement services duties and responsibilities within the unincorporated areas of a police department itself, traditional. So it's multifaceted. Yeah. So the sheriff's organizational flow chart, which I want to say to everyone, if you don't know anything about law enforcement, look at the sheriff's department, has a larger and a bigger span. And what that duties and responsibility is going to look like. It's multifaceted. As a chief of police, been kind of one denominational on what we do and how we interact with the town and the city, and then we do partnerships with each way. But the sheriff, we're looking at entire of Clark County. So you're looking at, as you go, Jeffersonville, Charlestown, Clarksville, Sellersburg, and you look at it as a whole, and then you start looking at the other areas out that are really dependent upon law enforcement: Henryville, Borden, Otisco. You start moving across New Wash, Hibernia, Marysville, out all the townships, back down here to Utica, Borden. You take all of our areas and you go out to Starlight. I mean, it's here, and I'm naming them off now. Swiftly, I've been out.
Yes, very broad range.
All these ranges you're talking. So we border in Clark County. Yep. We border Floyd County. We border Washington County. We border Scott County and Jefferson County. So you look at it, and then we have rivers here, and then you look at what we're looking at on top of it. We're right outside the 16th largest metropolitan city, the city of Louisville, and they have those challenges that we see every day here. That's us together, Clark and Floyd of Southern Indiana there. So there's a lot moving components. So you look at the Clark County Sheriff's Office and being multifaceted, leadership has to be at the highest degree of performance capability to be able to meet those challenges and to serve the areas that are priorities that we need to be able to serve in those duties and responsibilities, and then have partnership where that focus is for all of the incorporated areas. And there has to be a vision and a plan. There has to be a mindset and a focus of understanding those duties and responsibilities, and then taking on that legal responsibility. A lot of the duties of the sheriff of itself, those legal responsibilities, civil process, and there's a lot of processes and there's a lot of points that demonstrate that have to be done, and it shall be done and will be done. And when we've had a sheriff, I've had some points brought up to me previous before, when we have a sheriff that doesn't understand those duties, or supposed to have to be able to interdict, to intercept, and do not perform and do those well, it then costs the taxpayers.
Yeah.
Okay. So understanding of who we have in those positions of leadership and who is capable of being there to better serve and to be able to handle those roles and that functions of the sheriff's office of Clark County. So take a business flow chart and you build that with everything of what is the duties and their responsibilities where it needs to be, and then what is that plan going to be, and then you take and you put in Senate Bill 1. How that is then going to just be able to extract dollars, but then we've got to be sustainable, how you're going to maintain that budget, and then how you're going to be able to operate in a strategic fashion and operate in a strategic fashion for budgeting purposes and be able to do all those duties I talked about on that organizational
on that smaller budget.
Lawfully,
Yes.
and ethically.
That part's important.
That is. So that's what we have to do.
Okay.
Look at that sheriff and the person running for that office. Can that person demonstrate, has that person's leadership before in the past, have they been able to perform and do that at a level, if they've had other law enforcement experience as a law enforcement leader, and then what did they do to perform to standard? So it's only examples and data that we actually have there, and what's left there, and good reason, proven fact.
Yeah. And another function of the sheriff is overseeing the jail. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Talk to me about the jail. What are some challenges you see, and what does a well-run jail look like?
Well-run jail ensures public safety, security, and it is properly, professionally, and ethically managed. Understanding that what resource allocation is, and it has to be proven with dollars and cents. It's just that clear. So the system that it builds itself, and you have to understand the mindset. Once you step through those doors of a correctional facility, that place that's managed by a law enforcement agency, you're stepping into, that's another world. Okay, that has a mindset of its own, and think about people that we placed out of our society to give them a timeout, or whatever the conditions are for antisocial behavior. Those conditions, that place has a mindset of its own that it operates and it demonstrates, and then we have the duties and the responsibilities that we're tasked with to be able to ensure safety and security in that place for the smooth operations of that facility. Okay, and we're also trying to work people out of that loop of recidivism and wellness by leading them and showing them a pathway. And some are seriously challenged that I don't know if that's a lifestyle that they want to be able to accept and be able to take. So if that's the case, then we have a duty, and I have no issue and problem at all of taking that oath and being a person in public safety to say that we have people that are not going to be able to humanly perform in our society for whatever reason that is, of being lawless and wanting to be violent, danger, and have those challenges they have that may be mental health on that antisocial spectrum itself, and just to cover it, period. We need to keep these people out of society.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm willing to be one of the people that will step between that life and that line of civil disorder, chaos there, and be a law enforcement officer, but that has to be maintained structurally.
Absolutely.
And there's where the challenges actually come in. Yeah. And understanding it's either, and then we have people that say that they want to be out and they want to be back in society, but then they find themselves out in that loop. And you've heard me talk about the classification system of recidivism. How do we get and how do we expose some people that's had a life of challenges for them to understand there is a way and there's a path forward? I do believe that the ministry, there's place and room for the ministry within our correctional system. I think that's highly important. Education, job training, but understanding people when it comes down in general, how does he or she make decisions on their life and their lifestyle? It's a very sad place. I learned quickly. They're working there at a young age. It is a sad place because you see people that do want to try, they want to be better, and they get called out and they're going to not happen to occur, might be by, and within time or region, you see it's a revolving door and cycle that people get caught in life challenges, situations, and they're back there by their own accord. So exposing those incarcerated to components of decision-making, responsibility, accountability, and that classification system of getting them exposed to, in their case, adjudicate and resolve, I've got questions too to find out more, to educate myself on the system with those being incarcerated for probation, parole, how he or she, through that recidivism and monitoring, what is effective, what has not been effective, to the degree of managing these people. And I understand the challenges they have, but what can I do? I have to ask some questions as sheriff of Clark County to enhance or to be able to help enable some of those systems. Is it getting access for them prior to, or is us creating some educational classes components there within what we're talking about? Accountability, responsibility, I do not know, but at least thinking, having a mindset and focus, where can that role of the sheriff be when it comes to that in programming? And I've looked at it with classifications already, but I have to get in, and I do want to. I've got some ideas and plans, but I have to educate myself further and find out and ask some of these professionals in these spaces that have, in the system, what can we do to better serve? And then there's some programming that's already happened occurring. So I want to ask some questions about existing programming and see where that is. But it's been brought out to me, I want to say here on this podcast, that was heavy of what I found out from quite a few people here in Clark County, that ministry being engaged and involved in the jail. Did I support that? And absolutely I do.
Okay.
I do support the ministry having involvement in the Clark County Correctional Facility, and whatever I can do to enhance programming that people feel that it needs to be enhanced further to have more exposure. I want to say my mother was part of a team of people that was engaged prior years involved, and I shared that with people that would go and help to enable to perform jail ministry.
Okay.
So I do see that, and Sheriff Bush has been very active with those components over in Floyd County. So I do believe.
What do you see as the benefits of that? What do you see?
We all are better by knowing morality and being godlike and actually understanding and have some principle teaching in who we are. And there are some that go through greater challenges that you and I have ever known to see. Yeah. So if we can actually provide someone with some faith-based ministry, and it can give encouragement, it can give support, but it can help he or she to demonstrate their decision-making and give them some guidance, and someone being that life connected to Christ or connected to that of a higher being is what I am for that, to what we need to do to be able to help people. We've taken an oath to protect and serve and understanding. You go beyond. It's not all about going out and arresting people and it's you having contact. And there's a lot of things that you do to be able to solve problems when you go. That is where the sheriff's office has been lacking that mission and focus, where other priorities have taken away. We need to have a mindset and focus back in and talking about that jail, but that whole mindset and focus, wherever your position, wherever your capacity in your space is as an employee and a staff member, what we can do to demonstrate to be better. And I'm telling you that I support having faith-based ministry within the Clark County Jail. We're going to increase that from the position, the space of where it is there, to bring that back and to give some options. And that I've said that to numerous people, and that you will have my word. Absolutely.
That's great to hear, because so much of the responsibility is protecting the best parts of our society, rejecting the worst parts, but also rebuilding the worst parts and reconstructing it to be the society we want to see. The Clark County Sheriff's Office has seen corruption in the past. How are you going to put the final nail on the coffin of the corruption in the office?
That's a great question, but we're going to continue going forward as a professional ethical law enforcement officer and understanding. When you heard me say back here, that mindset and focus, for whatever reasons, whatever occurred before me, and I've sat within frustration, for the profession itself, that's damaging. And I do understand. Why you have a segment of society that has a distrust and a dislike of law enforcement. The actions predicated here before me, you see that's happened, occurred, and we have to understand that. I have a son as a police officer, and I've told him there's a reason why you get down that people do hate and dislike cops and law enforcement. It's actions and behavior, which is driven upon, and you hear me talking about responsibility and ethical that behavior. If we're out here violating the law and we're acting corrupt and doing corrupt actions
Yeah.
and taking commissary money and not doing the due diligence of what we're supposed to do with that, people see that misuse and that abuse.
It's no wonder they don't like that, right?
Yeah, we've driven that. So to want to be forward and want to be with the profession and talk about, you can see the passion of why I'm running. And I've sat on the sideline to be this change. I've been in the profession. I've been in law enforcement leadership, 10 years of leadership itself as an executive chief of police, but worked through as a ranking officer. I've been in command since 2004, becoming a commander 10 years after, being a sergeant and having a command unit, but understanding that duty and that responsibility, you have to take the task assignment seriously. You have to look at and know who's running for sheriff, know where the person running for sheriff, where they're coming from and what they're willing to do and what they did before. Also identify and look at leadership styles and look at outcomes, look at results. There's someone sent me this in law enforcement profession, showed me some data points back to the period of time of about 2007, 2008, and just looking at data points of what happened, what occurred. It's clear, it's concise, and knowing what's effective, what's beneficent, and where we've had challenging and troubled times, and understanding you have to be here and be present. I'm not saying I've been in law enforcement for almost X number of years. No, I've been here for 32 years. Yeah. I've worked through these challenges, and find out the number of years someone's been here, been present, what they're willing to come in to do and to talk about. This is not a one-on-one conversation. It's not a one-on-one conversation. I've heard it's not out. You need to be out in the open. You need to be out communicating with the public, telling the public what's happening, what's going on, and what you're willing to do. What is an executable plan and fashion? Also knowing that we have some politicians here in our area that are running around. I'm going to call that out. Running around, just jumping on hot topics and issues and grabbing opportunity. Understanding, see what you have that's going on. I call it reckless.
Okay.
Reckless behavior that's running around, and that reckless behavior that's got us in the position and capacity where we are. I'm calling all that out. Yeah. And I'm tired of it, and I'm going to be a different voice and a different advocate at where it is. And we need to have people that are structurally sound to be able to make decisions and be able to support the people. Not saying you got people, but support people with a reason and mindset and understanding what professional value is to be able to problem solve for people and not run around and look on Facebook to find somebody that's complaining about a subject matter and not understanding that totality of the circumstances, in fact, what it is. We got some games. Yep. And that's why you have corruption.
Absolutely.
That's why you have people that are in position that are elected there for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
You can't flick light switches on and off and make arbitrary decisions. So part of me here, I've got some level, as you see, that of frustration and not understanding or running here, but I've been known before to say things and call people out. That's what I will do. And I will actually stand as you see me sitting here making these decisions. And I understand that, some things that someone may not like, but I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to use candor, and I'm not going to facilitate, just circulating words or try to do private conversations. Things are in records. Things speak for itself. People who's been in leadership before in the past, they did what they did and where we are here today. We got time. We need to go forward, and we need to do what's best for Clark County. And we need to look at all these positions and all these offices and all the office holders are where they are here now. And we need to be holding people accountable for their decisions and accountability and responsibility where they are. So people are elected. And I'm going to say this here. You're elected to make decisions for the people, to support the people, and by the people. Okay? So taking these positions and being in capacity is not strategies and not games. Yeah. It's actually here working for people. And I've out here talking to people one-on-one. And that's one thing that they said, looking out here, having the willingness to be able to stand in front of people and communicate and be able to talk for resolving it here. It is tough. It's tough and going out and doing a lot of door knocking and hearing, but people want to understand, they want legitimacy. Yeah. They're looking for trust, and they've understand that they've been burned by people that are out here running around that they thought they could trust, and they didn't get in a position capacity to do the right thing. And as you look at it, it's all about history. It's all about what's been predicated before them and what's happened occurred. And you have men and women that are giving the example of who they are and where they've been and what they've been if it's been in chaos and confusion. So understanding where we are here now through these challenging times and understanding all this about corruption and all this about some of these people who are, I call them, they're circling around the game players, the fact stands of where they are. and understanding that if you're going forward in a leadership capacity, in a leadership position, and you're willing to serve, you should be able to demonstrate where you come from, where you've been, and also what you're willing to do. And if you're in an elected position, that elected capacity as a law enforcement leader or you're as a public official, you're elected to make tough, challenging decisions and not play games. And that needs to be right now where we are here done. And we need one message and understanding what that message is and how someone is going to resolve it, how we're going to go forward, and how we're going to get through with the challenging times that are set in front of us. And I'm willing to be on this ballot. I'm willing to run for the office and the sheriff of Clark County. I'm willing to be someone that people can lean on and count on and do the right thing. We'll do the right thing and we'll deliver safe outcomes to protect and serve.
Good. I'm glad to see it. You can play your games and you can stir up controversy.
Absolutely.
And spread rumors, or you can side with Mr. Kenny Kavanaugh for sheriff and have accountability, transparency, reliability, and get the job done how it's supposed to be. So I love to see that. Would you say a word to the young people of Clark County, how they can get involved, why they should be involved? What's your perspective on the next generation?
Absolutely. Younger generation, you are our future. You look at me, age 54, but actually coming in and running for sheriff of Clark County. You look at the age, I'm relatively running, age 54. Seemed to be someone told me I'm running as a young sheriff.
Okay, I mean, you're the spring chicken of the sheriff's office.
So you look at this in the fashion, so our future. You're leaning forward. Being engaged, involved at an early age, understanding and knowing what's going on around society. You're not too young. You're not too young to ever think that I can't go and get involved. So be informed, find out what's happening going on, and bring a true value. When I say that, and I look at people, I've got some levels of frustration that you can see coming out of me, of disappointment. People being involved should be involved for the right reasons. I've seen what's happened here lately, and I've had some serious disappointment. The actions, response, and some behavior of some, but understanding that you should be out here working every day for resolve. You should be working for something every day that's greater, and that's being able to give back. And being able to give back and being able to serve. So if you're a young person, you're never too young to want to engage and be involved in what you're doing. I tell you what, I applaud you guys actually looking at what you're actually doing today and taking, saying, hey, we're going to go on the podcast. We're going to ask someone some questions. Anytime that you want to engage, involved with me, and I'm going to want to be there by the will of the people to be the next elected sheriff of Clark County, feel free to reach out. Feel free to connect with me. But I would love to see, continue to see people young age to get engaged, get involved, find out what's happening occurring in government, ask your elected officials what's happening going on, come out and sit in some meetings and find out and understanding that decisions that are being made, what is the results of those decisions, how are those decisions impacting further policy of where we are here today, and actually understand what is that policy, what does that policy support, or what does that policy affect, and if we have a problem and issue, find out and identify what the problem and issue is beyond that day it's happening occurring, and why maybe it would continue to happen where it's at. What can be done to change and resolve that? It may be something that goes greater down the line of working on a policy, or working on how we just need to have a new focus, a new attention to be able to stop what's happening and occurring that's creating that issue and problem, or come together or have some conversations. A lot of times you find that working in the law enforcement profession that people refusing to communicate and being able to talk to resolve a problem or an issue, because everyone has their position and has their stance. It's a breakdown of lack of communication. So with that actually being said, get engaged, be involved, and go communicate. And that power there with social media, it can be there, but if it's unjust, it's not right.
True.
It doesn't work out well. And truth and facts always does stand. And understanding when those want to take truth and fact and manipulate that for their chance of opportunity.
I do want to say one word. If you're looking to get involved, if you're to those of our listeners, if you're looking to get involved in Clark County politics, if you're looking to get involved in campaigns, if you're looking to get involved in how our community is run, how our community is protected, go to nextgenclark.com and see what we're doing in our community. To actively get involved is a great first step. So go to nextgenclark.com and check out what we're doing, and then help us do it yourself. So Kenny Kavanaugh, thank you for coming on the show. I want to give you one chance as we wrap things up to give your last message to the voters, and give him your message.
Well, first thing I want to say is a thank you to the voters of Clark County. And in the primary, I want to say thank you for your confidence and trust. And I understand that your vote is your voice of reasoning and your voice to be able to speak of what you want to see for the future. I would say that I'm continuing to work, and I'm continuing to work just as I did with coming into the race of February 6th, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to let you down. If I did not capture your vote or not have your voter support, please know that I'm still here working, and I'm going to be able to go forward. And I want you to consider me with coming up for the general election and understand why I'm running for sheriff and what I want to be able to do for public safety and the people to be able to take us forward. Whether or not you vote for me to succeed, but I'm going to be a professional and be ethical. And just like any other law enforcement officer official would be, you call on me to be there, I will be there regardless. So it's not about a vote. It's not about being a supporter, being in position, but once elected, the sheriff of being there has a duty and responsibility and obligated to be there too, is what my message is. It's what's going to be on those vehicles. Protect and serve. And once again, thank you. And I'm glad and proud to be a resident here of Clark County and have the opportunity to be able to run for sheriff of Clark County and to be involved. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you. This has been Kenny Kavanaugh for Clark County Sheriff. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, I appreciate it.
And we will talk again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.